They're up, they're down, they're over, and they're out. And Philadelphia area fans and New Jersey fans and bettors want to know why. Eagles, why? Hi, everybody. Welcome to Why Eagles Why, our weekly status report on the Philadelphia Eagles. Dave Bontempo, along with Bill Gelman and Pete Amato. Glad that you're with us, and we have a lot to break down. We do it in 4 quarters plus overtime, different segments. And please remember to hit like and subscribe for future videos. Well, guys, how you doing? Welcome to this show after the Eagles just pounded the Denver Broncos 30-13 as we break the huddle. Guess what? They're in the playoff conversation. They're on the outside looking in. Pete, what do you think about the fact that the Eagles made some noise?
It was a good game. I think all around they looked pretty good. It's nice to see that they're in the kind of the national conversation. Gives you a reason to watch a lot of the national news broadcasts. But I was a bit surprised when I saw the bubble, the wild card bubble. There's not many dominant and NFC teams right now, so if it gives the Eagles a chance to squeak in and makes it that more exciting to watch them down the road, then I'm all for it.
Yeah, they are in the conversation right now, playing the New Orleans Saints, who are just above them. They have a win over the Carolina Panthers, who are at the bottom of that list. And Bill, Gelman's gold's a little bit different this week. How come?
Well, there was a lot of numbers that stood out to me. And hey, they beat an AFC West team for the first time this season. They won in convincing fashion. And I've been saying it throughout the season that there always seems to be one facet of the game that doesn't show up. This week, special teams, defense, and the offense, they all had some big plays. So the first number that pops out is number 83. Big play, Darius Slay delivered with an 83-yard fumble recovery. They gave out assists in football. I'd probably give one to Teddy Bridgewater because he really made a valiant effort to try and tackle him as he was running into the end zone. I know Teddy's been getting a lot of heat from the national media on that play, but hey, Slay had a little fun with it after the game, and that's why we got him. Big play Slay. So 83 popped out in my mind. It also happened to be the number of rushing yards Jordan Howard had this week, and he's been if we go into the season, I don't know, none of us would have said, oh yeah, Jordan Howard's going to be our top running back, averaging over 7 yards a game, 7 yards a carry in a game. He was on the practice squad. Miles Sanders gets hurt and Howard just steps in. And then we got to mention the birthday boy, DeVonta Smith. He just turned 23 years old. What does he do? Catches 2 touchdowns. So happy birthday, DeVonta Smith. Great game. You're starting to show some that you're going to be a big piece of this offense going forward.
Boy, Darius Slay looked like a running back the way he scooped up that ball and then he evaded tacklers and then picked out his route. But that's what you were talking about with the pot of Gelman's gold this week. And Pete, talking about Jalen Hurts, those passes he threw to Smith and even the one that Quez Watkins dropped, they were lasers, and there was something different about Jalen Hurts this past week.
Yeah, for sure. Before we get to Jalen Hurts, I just want to jump back to what Bill said about Jordan Howard. I think it was like the first episode. I did mention I was surprised to see him not suited up or on the practice squad. I always thought he still had some juice left in the tank. And I was I was surprised to see him on the practice squad. The Eagles didn't seem to give him a chance, and I'm really happy to see that they gave him a chance, and he's proving that the guy still has something in the tank. But I just want to say that real quick. But yeah, as far as Jalen Hurts, he looked great. I have been one of his harshest critics all season, but in my opinion, this was the best game of his entire career. Maybe not on paper as far as stats and yards and such, but the way he looked, the way he reacted, he went through his progressions great. I've never seen him kind of step back in the pocket, step up, and slide step the way he did on a lot of those deep balls. The way he the ball to Quez Watkins that he dropped, that was a perfectly placed ball. Quez usually catches those, so we'll give him the benefit of the doubt there. But yeah, in my opinion, this was the first time Jalen Hurts actually looked like a franchise quarterback in his entire career with the Eagles. So I was happy.
Did you just say franchise quarterback?
What's that?
Did you just say franchise quarterback and Jalen Hurts?
It's the first time he looked like a franchise quarterback. So there's potential there. I'm happy to eat my words if he keeps playing this way. We'll see what happens. But this was the first time he consistently showed confidence in the pocket. He kept his head downfield. He went through his progressions. He didn't look to tuck and run. He didn't look to scramble and dump. He looked downfield. He went through his progressions, and you saw him when there was pressure in his face. He either got rid of the ball or he slide stepped the pressure, and it was a really good game. Got to give it to him.
As we come to the end of the first quarter, remember that the Eagles did that to a team that had just dumped the Dallas Cowboys convincingly. All right, let's take a look at the Eagles and Saints. We'll do that in quarter number 2. The second quarter of Why Eagles Why. Some fans might be saying, what Eagles what after that dynamic performance last week against the Denver Broncos? Now they come home, Bill, in an important matchup against the New Orleans Saints in many respects. What is your overview going into this game?
Okay, well, I have one big thing to start off. Eagles have not won a home game yet this season. They actually have a winning record on the road. They're still looking for that first win at Lincoln Financial Field. You just crushed Denver on their home turf last Sunday. Yeah, you held them to, I believe, a field goal in the second half. So bring that momentum home. You're going to have your fans behind you. Show them what you showed your fans in Denver last week. Show them that you can make a big play on defense. Show them that you can have a balanced running passing game. Maybe even throw in a special team, a big play on special teams like they did last week with the blocked field goal. You got to win at home. If you can't win at home, you don't deserve to be in a playoff conversation. This is key. You got 65,000 fans backing you, screaming at you, and you have a Saints team that's coming in that's beaten up. Jameis Winston's out. He's not playing. Michael Thomas has been out for the season. And Alvin Kamara, the top running back in the NFL, one of the top running backs in the NFL, he's a question mark. So you have all their top weapons out of the game. Saints have lost 2 in a row. They haven't looked that great since they beat a Tampa Bay on Halloween. And Tampa Bay, it doesn't even look like the Super Bowl team they were last year. So the timing couldn't be better for this Eagles team to just come out, get ahead early, and just take control of the game.
Pete, the expectations of this team have never been higher than they are right now after what the Eagles recently did. And it seems like they are going to get over the hump against the New Orleans Saints. And that is the expectation, at least. What are the kinds of things we need to see in this game that will make that happen?
Well, on offense, you got to keep making DeVonta Smith the guy. He doesn't look like a rookie wide receiver at all. The way he runs routes, his timing routes are perfect. He uses his quickness, he uses his speed, and he's small, but he uses his ability to. He kind of plays big. If you saw the jump ball in the end zone last week, he jumped over two guys that were probably, I don't know the stats behind it, but were probably taller than him. Everybody was worried about his how big he is, how much he weighs, and that. But he won the Heisman for a reason. He plays like a pro. It usually takes good wide receivers maybe a year or two to kind of get NFL route running down. But he runs every route there is. There's not really anything bad to say about him right now. So I think, and you got to keep feeding him the ball. The first half of the season, we just weren't feeding him the ball enough. But I feel like things are starting to change with that. And on the defensive side, I haven't bought in on Jonathan Gannon's defense yet. I still think we played kind of a soft level of defense, and that's all right because we were leading most of the game. So they do kind of go in and prevent defense, but against a average offense like the Saints, they can pick you apart when you play 7-8 yards off their wide receivers, because they do have big wide receivers. There might not be huge names, but they're big wide receivers that could push our defensive backs around. And I feel like, and they have tight ends that they use. So I feel like we just have to stay aggressive on defense. We can't give up those 7-8 yards, because it doesn't matter who's back there, whether it's Tom Brady or Simeon. An NFL quarterback will pick you apart if you keep giving them those 5-6 yards, 7 yards, and they eat up clock and they make your defense tired. So those are kind of my two keys to the game.
Bill, one of the stories we talked about this week, and I wrote for you, was the pressure that the Eagles were able to put on Teddy Bridgewater, the sack, and all the types of things that happened after that. When they put a little bit of pressure on, I think they'll try to do that again. And by the way, offensively, this team is averaging more than 30 points a game for the last 3 weeks. Just saying, we might be seeing something from this Eagles. Do you get a certain sense of that, Bill? Like maybe there could be a breakout this week?
I think they're due. I think it's time. I think they got to the portion of the schedule where there's more winnable games than tough games. Obviously that Cowboys game is going to pop out because the Cowboys just still seem light years ahead of any other team in the NFC East. But then again, it's the NFC East. You never know what can happen because, Dallas got crushed by Denver on their home turf. So us Eagles fans don't forget things like that. What's going to be interesting about this game is the Eagles are right now, they're a 1.5 point favorite. I think the line is going to move as the week goes on, because you have a couple of question marks concerning Miles Sanders and Alvin Kamara, which will affect the line as we get closer to the game and the injury reports get updated. But it's actually good to see the Eagles are a favorite on their home turf.
Yeah, minus numbers for the Eagles. Well, we'll expand beyond this game and a look at the suddenly interesting NFC East because of the schedule in the third quarter. Why Eagles? Why third quarter? There's something about this team that reminds me of 2016 when they were 7-9 and they were coming. Not that we're saying that next year's team wins a Super Bowl for the Eagles, but there is an indication that there could be a breakout coming next year based on some of the parts that are coming into play now. Now that was Carson Wentz's first year. They were 7-9. This is Jalen Hurts' first year. They could be right around 500 again when it's over. I see similarities between 2016 and this year's team. Pete, what about you? Do you see similarities?
I can see some similarities. I think they're actually going to probably finish the season 7-9. I also see similarities in the beginning of 2016. You could tell the team was young. They were making silly mistakes that rookies make. I mean, it was a young team, and this team, you see that they made some bad mistakes in the beginning of the season, but these last few games, they've been one of the least penalized teams in the league. So the coaching staff is doing something right.
What I saw about that 2016 team, they just started to make plays late in games, and we saw plays in this one. And Bill, with the extra game, making this a 17-game season, well, that makes it interesting what people are projecting for the Eagles now at DraftKings, as you have some information based on some changes that have happened.
Yeah, DraftKings, we were talking last week, the number was 7.5. That win over Denver suddenly pushes the number to 8.5. The under is right now, the books are putting the under as a slight favorite right now. They're still to not make the playoffs still has the edge for the Eagles right now, but that can all change because you got all these division games coming up, and like we touched on earlier, nobody's really stepping up in the NFC. We talked about the Cardinals. They're hurt with injuries. DeAndre Hopkins, Kyler Murray have both been out. The Rams should have. I think they forgot to show up on Monday night this week in San Francisco. San Francisco seems to give them a nightmare. So the two top teams, Green Bay is in there and Dallas is in there. But is any team going to really run away with this? Could it, as we get to these December games and where it's heavily weighted on division games, could we see some interesting twists and turns, some sudden moves in the standings, even for the wild card race. It's interesting to see how one win suddenly pushes the number to up a full game.
I think it's going to be fun now because Carolina, 5-5, they're on the bottom if the playoffs started now. The Eagles have a win over them, which is very important. And the Eagles could have a win over New Orleans if that happens on Sunday, a tiebreaker again against the team near the bottom of that playoff pack. Washington is playing Carolina. Should be a winnable game for Washington after a terrific performance against the Tampa Bay Bucks. Washington had a 19-play drive, 10 minutes and 26 seconds to clinch the game against Tampa Bay. Longest drive in the NFL this year. Who would have thought it would come from that team? So it does go up and down as Washington will now try to do the Eagles a favor. And, there are other games coming in there. Dallas now going into Kansas City, and we're seeing Dallas on plus numbers again, which is rare.
Yes, because I touched on this last week. I said Kansas City really needed to step up. It was their time to step up and take control of the division. They did exactly that against the Raiders. But now you can't stop there. You got a Dallas team coming to town. Dallas is one of the top teams in the NFC. Kansas City's got to keep that momentum going. Mahomes had a great game last week. So this is a week where we're going to see which of these teams is really a step ahead of the other, because we're talking about two of the top teams in opposing conferences. Is one of them going to step forward? Kansas City, we've been asking questions about them because they just haven't looked like the same dominating team that they've been the last two seasons. So be an interesting game. I could see it going either way, but it's
I do think it's the game of the week in the NFL. So
he's speechless.
We'll take a look at that.
I can't say anything.
Dallas has done that to teams this year.
It
has made us that way. Hey, now, Pete, the Giants, the bettors They like the fact the Giants have 3 covers in a row, 2 of them victories. Their defense has shown up. And now they're playing Tampa Bay with 2 losses in a row on Monday Night Football. Tampa Bay hasn't won a game since late October. Monday Night Football, the Giants are going to be getting double digits against Tampa Bay on the big stage. And I'm kind of interested to see how that's going to play out. Is Tom Brady mad, or are the Giants getting better?
Tom Brady's always mad. I mean, he could have 25 rings and guy's going to be mad. But I see what you're saying. Two big losses in a row by Tampa Bay. Tom Brady's not going to let this game slip away. At least I don't think so. Monday Night Football, I mean, the guy is just Mr. Clutch. So he's probably going to try to will his team to win, whether they like it or not. But it is interesting to see the Giants and the way they've been playing lately. Just like the Reds, Washington football team, they've stepped it up, and you don't know if they're going to get Saquon Barkley back. That's a big if right there. Probably be game time decision. And if they do get him back, then they could do kind of what Washington did to Tampa Bay last week, and kind of just keep Brady off the field and let Saquon do his thing. So I think that's a big factor in whether the points are going to be double digit or not. And I think it's a big factor in whether the Giants have a chance against the Buccaneers.
All right. When we start the fourth quarter, we'll each talk about a team. Fourth quarter of Why Eagles Why, or maybe we could term this one Power Brokers, teams on the move and the key situations involving them. I'll start with the New England Patriots. I've loved them since the loss to Dallas. They've had 4 wins in a row, stomping the Cleveland Browns at home last week and looking like an extremely talented team that could go deep into the playoffs. Now they will go on the road, and they are laying a touchdown to the Atlanta Falcons. So this team, I think the public is on them now, and maybe the line has caught up with them. So we'll take a look and see how New England goes against Atlanta. That's a tough call for me. I may have to make that one late. But New England is a team that I've been on. And Pete, you've been watching the Cincinnati Bengals very closely. You were on them early when they were hot, and it looks like they've made the Pete's Pick section again.
Yeah, unfortunately, I am 3 losses in a row. I went from 5-0 to 6-0 to 6-3 now, because I took the Rams last week, and we all saw what happened there. But yeah, the Cincinnati Bengals versus the Las Vegas Raiders game is interesting to me. Both teams are coming off 2 big losses. The Raiders lost to a bad New York Giants team, and then they got smashed by the Chiefs. And then Cincinnati had a bye last week. They lost before that. They got smashed by the Browns, and they lost to probably the worst team in the league, the Jets. But Cincinnati had 2 weeks to think about it. Had 2 weeks to think about these losses. I think they're better than that. I think they have I think they have a lot more talent than the Raiders. The line at FanDuel right now is -1 with the Bengals. So I do like the Bengals in this game, given 1 point.
Now that people are calling them the Bungles, maybe they will get back and show the good form that they had earlier this year. And Bill, you've had your eye on an elite AFC East team, AFC conference team.
Yes. Actually, I just took notice of them because it's just like you lose Derrick Henry, you think Tennessee is out of the conversation. Not the case. Since losing to the Jets on October 3rd, Tennessee has won 6 straight games, and they're not all cupcake wins. You're talking about win over the Rams, win over the Bills, and they absolutely destroyed Kansas City. They're a big favorite this week against Houston, getting 10.5, given 10.5 to 11 points, depending on what book you look at. I don't know if I like the line at that many. Anytime it's double-digit points, I would think to maybe tease the line down a little bit as opposed to taking the double-digit points. I don't think they have. No, I know they will not have a problem beating Houston this week. Houston's one of the worst teams in the league. Of course, we've seen a lot of, should be crushing the opposition, and we've seen Jacksonville do it to Buffalo. We saw Washington do it to Tampa Bay. So you can't go with a sure thing, but it's as close to a sure thing without it being a sure thing. I really like Tennessee this week going to 9 wins. And believe it or not, all these other teams we're talking about, it's Tennessee. If the playoffs started this week, they would be the number 1 seed.
Amazing. And their coach, Mike Vrabel, with his imaginative play calling, you have to see what they do on those third down situations and how they utilize different personnel. He learns from Belichick, and it has shown up there an exciting team to watch. We'll conclude with our parting shots straight ahead. It's overtime on Why Eagles Why and our parting shots. Well, we can't help but resurrect an old quote from Jim Mora with the Saints when he said, playoffs? Well, now the Saints are coming to town and the Eagles are thinking, playoffs? This is the team right above us. So a lot can happen if things fall into place. But Bill, there's a sobering assessment about that too. The Eagles have to take care of business first.
Yeah, you don't want to rely on help. You always hear you can make the playoffs if you win and get help. Eagles could control their own destiny. First step, they have to win the Saints game because Saints are above them in the standings. This push gives them that edge. And then you have 2 against the Giants, 2 against Washington, 1 against Dallas, and which could mean nothing for Dallas, but mean something for the Eagles. And then, of course, you have the Jets. So I have them. I took a very conservative look at the final 7 games. I have them going 4-3, saying that they're going to split with the Giants and Washington, but I could also see them sweeping those series. And then if Dallas has nothing to play for, the Eagles do have something to play for that they could easily go 5-3. So we could finish the season on a high note. Whether or not it happens, we've been evaluating this team all season. Some weeks they show up, some weeks they don't. So if they show up, things are looking, up. If they don't show up, then, we'll be saying why Eagles, why again.
I think they have sucked people back in right now. And Pete, it's like the supply chain. Anything that goes out of whack, one loss where you can't afford it, gets rid of this whole vision. But at least going into this weekend, that vision is there.
Yeah, but there's another big question. What do we do with Miles Sanders? Yeah, on paper, he's the most talented running back we have. But the chemistry of Howard and Scott and Gainwell right now is off the charts. They're on paper the second best rushing team in the league since Sanders got injured. So that's a big question. I mean, do you sit him down? How do you bench your star running back, one of your best playmakers on the field? I think that's a big question. It's a big choice that Sirianni is going to have to take, and I'm kind of interested to see what he does. Does he kind of work him back in there? If you work him back in there, then you got to have 4 running backs, and it's not like he can take Gainwell's spot because Gainwell's more of a scat back anyway, and that's not what Sanders really does. So, I feel like Jordan Howard and Scott have kind of earned their way on the field. So we'll see what happens with Miles Sanders. It's going to be exciting to see what Sirianni does.
Yeah, maybe different blocking schemes if he comes back in, because he's a to the side, out to the sidelines, toward back, and these guys are up the middle.
Totally different. Yeah, it's totally different. It could sway the whole chemistry of the offensive line. You don't know. I say go with what's working. I think Miles Sanders is a big boy. I think he can understand that maybe sit for another week or not get as many touches for another week. But we'll see what happens.
Okay, so the Eagles get blown out by Dallas, then they come out and they blow out the team that did that to them. You know, they beat the Denver Broncos, who had beaten the Dallas Cowboys. They're up and they're down. So one thing, at the end of next week, after the game against the Saints, people will be saying, this team is right back in it, or they're going to be saying, why? Eagles, why? Thanks for joining us. For Bill Gelman and for Pete Amato, this is Dave Bontempo saying we'll see you next time on Why Eagles Why.
Go
See you
Eagles.
guys. No birds.